Bryon Powell of iRunFar here with Geoff Roes after the North Face Endurance Challenge Championships. How you doing today, Geoff?
Good. Feel good.
Yeah. You were second out there today, as with last year. How did the race play out for you? I mean, the race went out with just a huge pack of people. There were 30 people or so together at 10 miles. It's got to be a different situation than you're used to.
Yeah, and it was kind of fun then. It was, it's sort of interesting at that point. You know that several of those runners are gonna pay dearly later. I mean, we weren't pushing really hard, but we were moving. We were moving pretty good, and kind of looking around, knowing like some of the guys that aren't gonna last, and and others. It's just a question of what kind of day they have, and then eventually it broke down to like 5 of us. And then it was 4 for really the last half of the race.
And that was you, Dakota,
Macky, and Miguel, yeah. And it was the 4 of us, and then Dakota and I kind of separated, climbing up Dipsy and Steep Ravine. And I really felt great then. The climbs, all day I felt good on the climbs, and Dave and Miguel both faded back a bit there, and Dakota and I took off, and Dave would reel us back in on the downs. He was running really hard downhill all day, but not climbing super strong. So I felt good. I mean, I felt like, okay, well, I'm gotta outlast Dakota. I think with Dave and Miguel both not climbing strong at that point of the race, a good shot at holding them off. And
were you surprised to have Dakota with you there at?
I mean, I was. Dakota's obviously a really strong runner, and I was stoked for him. I mean, I think that, he would have liked to hold on, I'm sure, and finish a little stronger than he did. But I'm sure I hope he's happy with his race, because I mean, he had a solid run, and we had fun running together. I mean, basically, he and I ran together for 40 miles.
You two together came in at Pantol at like 30, and you were both like smiling, like you're both having fun running together.
Oh yeah. It was. Yeah, we ran by Topher just before that, and gave Topher a big high. Each of us gave him a big high five, and yeah, it was fun. And right around Pantol was about the last point where it had that lightheartedness. Beyond that, it was sort of just like, okay, this is gonna be a battle, and I don't know, somewhere around Old Inn, or is that what they call it, Old Inn, or whatever the 36 or something. Like, I kind of knew around there that I was likely to drop him, or possible, because he was fading a little bit on climbs. Like, he'd get 20, 30 feet behind me on the short climbs. It's usually a pretty good indicator, and we chatted a bit at one point there about how it's been cool to run that long together, and however it plays out, it's been pretty cool, and because you're not going to stay with the person away at the end, and then I dropped him the little climb out of Old Inn. It's just like a 400-foot climb, but I dropped him by a minute or so, and then he stayed close all the way to Muir Beach. He was no more than 20 seconds behind me going into Muir Beach. Going out of there, he was close. And then I felt really good climbing out of Muir Beach, and that's where Uli dropped me last year, and so it felt really like kind of, okay, cool, this like reciprocation of what happened last year, and I'm the one, dropping.
So you pulled ahead of Dakota, and you hadn't seen Macky or Miguel for a long time, I'm sure. Do you have any sense of where they were at this point?
I had no idea. I mean, I figured Haras was done. I mean, when I left Stinson, just up the way, I stopped to take a leak on the side of the trail, and so the 3 of them were all ahead of me, and as I caught back up to each of them, I kind of strategically ran behind each of them for a minute or two, just to see, how they doing, what kind of pace are they pushing up this climb. And Miguel was the first one I caught, and I mean, he was just crawling up the thing, and I was feeling really good then, and I was like, okay, well, I could be running twice as fast as him going up this right now. That makes me feel good about my chances against him. And so I flew by him and caught up to Dave, and Dave wasn't climbing super fast, and so I kind of felt the same thing with him, like, okay, I like my chances with him. And took me a little longer to catch Dakota, but then even once I caught him, I noticed that he wasn't, I was able to catch up to him, and he wasn't pushing that climb very hard, and so.
So when you dropped Dakota and had this lead on, did you feel confident you were going to take the race?
Not really. I mean, I never had that like really strong like, okay, this is mine, because I felt sort of stuck in a medium gear all day. I felt strong going up, but I didn't feel like I had a lot of turnover, or not. It wasn't even turnover. It was just like I felt sluggish kind of on the flats and the gradual downhills. The steep downhills were fine because it just let gravity do the work. And so I was definitely thinking, okay, well, there's guys back there. I had no idea who was still in the race. I was thinking about the guys that I had been, I was thinking about Macky a little bit, and he had been running really strong downhill all day. And then there was definitely a period there, though, coming up the climb, towards the top of the climb out of there between Muir Beach and Tennessee Valley. I looked back and couldn't see anybody, and it was definitely, I must have had at least like a 3-minute lead on anybody in the race at that point.
I think that's a place where Ole looked back at you, if I remember correctly, last year.
He did, yeah. And it was about the same thing. We were even right there at the bottom, and by the top of that climb, he had 5 minutes on me. And same thing happened here. I didn't realize that, Miguel must have run that climb a couple minutes faster than me, because he cut, from what I've heard, he cut like 4 minutes on me between Muir and Tennessee. And I don't know, I know a lot of that was the downhill. He was flying in downhills after like the last couple big downhills. He was just flying. But I think he was definitely gaining on me on that climb. I just don't know how. I mean, the climb was really frustrating because I was feeling great, but I couldn't move very quick because of the mud. It was super muddy and just frustratingly muddy to the point where it wasn't my fitness that was keeping my pace where it was. It was the
you just couldn't. You just slide off and try to pick up the speed at all.
So it was frustrating because I knew I wasn't gonna run any of the downhills the rest of the way as strong as I might normally like to. So I was really looking forward to the last couple climbs to put some distance on the field, and it was frustrating not to be able to because of the mud. But as it turns out, I mean, Miguel was so strong towards the end, I don't know that it would have mattered.
So did he catch you on that the climb out of Tennessee Valley? And then were you able to hang with him at all, or?
No, it was funny. I felt like I didn't feel like I was working very hard when he caught me, but I didn't feel like I had anything more to give either to stay with him. I mean, I tried to run with him for a few seconds, and it just wasn't going to happen.
So you felt like you gave, you had a good race? I mean, I think you compared it, you would have run as fast as Ole. Sort of a similar effort to Ole gave last year if it had been the same course.
I think so. I think the course changes might have added 12 minutes or something, and then the mud definitely added another 3, 4, 5 minutes at least, maybe more, probably more. So yeah, I think that I think on the same course with the same conditions, I would have run a faster time than I did last year, maybe around Ule's time possibly. So I'm happy with that.
So
I got 6 miles closer to the finish this year before I got passed than last year. So
you're going to sign up for Me Walker this again next year? You're going to take on the headlands once again, because as you've mentioned, so I'll mention it. You've aside from getting lost at Way Too Cool this year, you never lost an ultra, except you're 0 for 5.
0 for 5 now here in the headlands. Yeah, I mean, part of that is the races here. Both Me Walk and this are super competitive. I've had good races here the last 2 years, and good race my first year at Me Walk. But yeah, there's definitely part of me that feels interested in Me Walk this spring, maybe because partially because of that. I just feel like got a bone to pick with these trails. And
anything else on your schedule that you're sort of keying in on for next year? Or are you still waiting, going to take some time off and think about it?
I'm signed up to run Bandera in January 8th. And I'm probably going to do it, as long as recovery goes fine from this. I don't feel like I didn't tweak anything today. Nothing feels unusually sore, so I'm sure I'll be ready to just start running fine again by midweek or something. And I'll do Bandera, and then maybe give myself a little time, a couple weeks mellow, either totally off or just, you know, go out for some snowshoe hikes and stuff like that, and then just start gearing back up. And yeah, got some ideas for the spring, but nothing firm.
Gotcha.
And then Western and UTMB.
So Western and UTMB, you're pretty.
I mean, UTMB is definite. I mean, if I'm can walk.
I mean, that's interesting you say that. Is that you raced with Miguel there last year? You were both in the top 5 when it got turned around or stopped in a rematch.
It makes it that much more. I mean, I'm already like more excited, I think, for UTMB next year than I've maybe ever been this far away from a race, and today just makes me that much more excited for it. And you know, Killian obviously wants a rematch with me, and we'll have, well, it might be our another rematch after this year's Western, maybe.
And maybe that Anton guy might put
that
in.
That Anton guy might be there, and
and it's cool. I think like this is the first time the Europeans have really come here. And now, I mean, they didn't do so bad for themselves.
Miguel
won, and yeah, there's some other decent showings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be interesting. You know, we've had a couple top Americans go to UTMB in past years, but I think next year might be another step up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think this, you know, it was well, for a lot of reasons, it was unfortunate that UTMB got canceled this year, or got whatever it called. I don't know, but the. You know, but I think this year there was a lot of, maybe for the, probably not the first time, but maybe more so than there had been in the past, like a real like okay, well, we've got some, you know, Americans there that could really do well, and there seemed to be just like maybe it was, there just felt like it was going to be a breakthrough year for the Americans. I mean, I was super strong at that time and was feeling good the 20 miles that we did run, and so I think it would have likely been a breakthrough year for the Americans, and you know, Mike coming in second in the makeup race, and like Jurek was in good shape, and I think would have had a good race there. But yeah, I think next year now this just like adds that much more, a little bit of a rivalry, but it seems to me a really fun.
Yeah, I think
rivalry.
Both sides seemed to. I mean, Miguel was, you know, came over after the race, and
yeah, I mean, I wish if I could speak the Spanish I could 10 years ago, I'd be able to communicate with him a little more. And but his English is a bit limited, and my Spanish is even worse. But
well, you both know how to speak trail running, and congratulations on your race today, and see you around.
Yeah.